Welcome back to Build for Health, where we pull back the curtain on what it takes to build a strong, healthy body and a fitness routine that sticks. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with trainer Srdjan Injac, and today we're talking about the core. The Core was, did you see the movie The Core? I think it was a Bruce Willis movie. He was a miner sent to space.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Space Rodeo.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not what we're talking about today. No, we're talking about all things that are much better than that movie turned out to be. Look, Srdjan, I brought this up, and I think at first you might have been resistant to talk about this, but we're sitting there training, and I was explaining to you how you made me sore in stripes across my core, and I wanted to dig a little bit deeper because my impression is that core strength is foundational to every other bit of strength training that you might do.
Exactly.
And I think that defining the core from the trainer's perspective will help us define the core and our objectives with our core from the trainee's perspective. So can you start with just telling me how do you want to define core for us today?
Yeah, so I wanted to get a little bit deeper into that topic of the core because the trainers don't really talk about that much. And when we work with the clients, we just say we're going to work on your core, but they don't really realize what we mean by that.
Yeah.
And what it is and how important it is to have your core strong. I mean, the people, when they think about the core, they think about the abs.
Yes.
That's all they think. It's core. Like we're going to work on core, and they do a bunch of crunches, abs.
Well,
and
right,
that's only like maybe 20% of your core. That's
right.
what the crunch is.
Well, because when we're strength training, the incentive is for things that will appear to change, right? If I'm working on my shoulders, then I notice when my shoulders get stronger.
Yeah.
How many people do enough crunches to actually see their abs? Right? Like their core may be awesome, but how many people really see their abs? Because that's not what that's not what you need to do to see your abs.
It's just, abs are just there for the looks. You can still have a strong abs and have the abs, and you can see the abs, but have a weak core. Because the abs, it's not, the abs are not the core. So the core is not a muscle, okay? It's a system. So when people hear the word core, most of them, that's what they think, 6-pack, 8-pack. But the core is actually a full 360-degree system of the muscles, okay? So it's not just the syntax, like it's essential. The core is essential for standing, walking, bending, turning, carrying, stabilizing joints as you age. And as we age, the balance weakens. So most falls starts with the moment of instability in the trunk. So strong core keeps you upright, stable, and protected, right? So some of the facts, like also the back pain, comes from the weak core. And it comes from fatigue, instability, and the poor movement. It's not damage. It's just the weakness of the core. And the strong, deep core stabilizes the spine so the lower back stops absorbing all that stress, right? So most people bend like from their lower back instead of their hips. Strengthening the core teaches the body to move safely, right? So here's some of the facts and how important the core actually is. The weak core is actually the number one contributor to chronic low back pain. And 90% of people with back pain have a poor core stability. Okay, so sitting at the table, and a lot of us have those jobs where you sit for a very long time and all day and you don't really get up as much. So sitting weakens the deep core and shortens the hip flexor, which increases that back strain. Right. And then also the core strength reduces the risk of falls in elderly adults up to like 30%. The core will improve your posture and spinal alignment. Also, the weak core is also linked to balance issue and early disability also. So it's very important that you work on the core, because it will help you in everyday life. Just me sitting on the chair and getting up, I'm actually using my core.
I know you weren't looking at me just now, but I was so implicitly shamed that I stood up at my desk. Like I am now in my standing mode because that hip flexor thing is legit scary. You see people who can't like bend right anymore because they sit too much.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
the core is so weak, and there are a lot of people come with me and they were like, well, before we start working out, I have to tell you I have some back pain issues, their back pain and all that stuff. My back is not okay. I'm like, your back is fine. Your back is
Yeah.
completely fine. There's nothing wrong with your back. It's your core that's weak. And the
Yeah.
core actually, it's like I said, it's not one muscle, it's a system. So it's in the core, there's like 20 plus muscles. That's what makes the core.
Okay.
There's
And those,
more,
where
like
are those
I said.
all connected? Like walk me through. I imagine a rat's nest of rubber bands like around my spine and rib cage and hips that are all just kind of connected.
Yeah, so depending on how you define, like the core includes over 20 muscles, okay? But the main 6 to 8 primary muscles, the primary core muscles, are like rectus abdominals, they're external obliques, internal obliques, transverse abdominals, erector spinae, multifidus, pelvic floor muscles, diaphragm. Those are all primary. And then you also have the secondary, the deeper, core stabilizers. Mm-hmm. So all these muscles you need to train to get the strong. So like I said, the strong core. So the crunches, those just abdominals, they're only 20% of your core, right? So there's also hip flexors, glutes, latissimus dorsi, like adductors. They all assist with the stability of all the movements that you do, right? So like I said, those are like maybe 6 to 8 primary muscles, but then there's over 20 total muscles that actually stabilizes your spine, your pelvis, your rib cage, everything. So it's not just the abs. So when it comes to training, sometimes when we train and you think, okay, we're training my big glutes or we're training hamstrings, I'm actually working on your core. Because when you train the core, you want to get away from the machine. So this is the difference between the machines and when you do the exercises that includes like stability balls, exercise balls, right? And then medicine balls and the bands. So the machines will shut off your core. So whatever machine you're on, it's pretty much made to isolate that one particular muscle that it's made for. And it shuts off everything else. And it's great if you want to strengthen certain muscles, but it's not going to do anything for your core. Like, for example, when we do those glute bridges on the exercise ball, you have to worry about stabilizing yourself, right? Because you're going to fall left or right. You're going to go all over the place. It's like, that's when all those core muscles and your stabilizer muscle kick in. They're part of your core. That's when I'm actually working on your core. Not really on strengthening too much of your hamstrings. If I wanted to do that, I would put you on the machine and you would do hamstring
There are
curls.
other machines. Yeah, right.
So whenever, that's why I said the whole purpose of the core is to prevent unwanted movement. It's not to create the movement. The core doesn't create the movement. It's prevent you from the movement. Like when we do, for example, anything in the push-up position, in the plank position, when you do the rows, when you just grab the weight and pull it from one side to another, I always say, like, keep it tight, don't
keep your
move.
Hips straight.
Keep the hips straight and don't move. That's when I'm working on your core. Not your back, not your shoulders, not anything else, even though you're moving. I want you to be able to resist the movement of everything else of the core. Because that's when the injuries happens. If you have a strong core, it's less likely that you're going to injure yourself even when you're out there, when whatever you're doing, right? You get hurt because something pulls you to the side or forward or back, and you can't stop yourself from movement. So that's why they say the core doesn't create the movement, it resists the movement. And then if you have a strong core, it's less likely that you're going to get hurt and injured. So that's what most athletes work on if they're going to have, strong core. And that's kind of what people would need to focus on. And then once you have a strong core, then you can take the training all the way to the next level, and you can kind of get creative and think kind of outside the box and do all these other crazy things, because you have a strong core to prevent you from going back and forth, moving every which direction, and it's gonna, wait, whatever. Whenever I, when we work out, I say, slow it down, control the movement. You're in control. Because that's when you'll be able to stop from moving in an unwanted direction, and you're not going to get hurt. But when you let the weight take over, and when you lose the control, that's when you get hurt.
Yeah, because I just end up swinging around, swinging weights around. That's so. By extension, is this also true that if someone is struggling to make progress in their lifts, right? It may be squats, deadlifts, overhead, shoulder presses, whatever. How often is core weakness or core instability the real limiter?
Oh, it's most of the time. That's what's preventing them from actually executing those deadlifts and like keeping the form right. Because in those exercises, the form is crucial, and that's where the core comes in, being able to stabilize you. Okay, so also during some of those movements, you have to also know how to breathe. Like, don't hold your breath. Okay, a lot of people come in and they're like, hold their breath, and they don't okay, breathe. Like, when you inhale, your belly, your ribs, your lower back should all expand outward slightly. Okay, like imagining filling up a cylinder. So not just your belly. So, and the reason why it matters is because it activates your diaphragm. It turns on some deeper core muscle like transverse abdominals. So it protects your spines, and it actually makes the core exercise 2-3 times more effective.
When you're breathing.
Yeah. So you have
I'm a
to
breath
exhale.
holder, man. I'm definitely a breath holder.
When I see people, I'm like, exhale, breathe. I'm like, don't faint on me. I'm like, you're going to get up and you're just going to go straight down. I'm like, you got to breathe. And they're like, oh my God, I forgot. Because they're focusing on all these different things. I'm like, but that's also part of your core, like strength. You have to know how to breathe. And, you exhale during the hardest part of the movement. Okay, that's kind of a general rule.
Oh, man.
So don't just, and when I said kind of brace your core, like you try to suck your stomach in. So I don't want you sucking the stomach in. I want you to embrace like your core, the brace instead, which means, like how you would keep it core tight if somebody's about to punch you in the stomach. Like you tighten.
Sure.
So you tighten and expand at the same time. You create that internal pressure. So it's not a flat stomach, right? So by doing that, the bracing, it activates all those core muscles inside the transverse abdominal, obliques, diaphragm, pelvic floor, multifidus. And those are all the muscles that are like down your spine. They're also part of your core. There's a lot of those too. So, and we train a lot of those muscles during some of the exercise that you don't even realize, you don't even know, because I don't even tell you exactly every single muscle that's activated during that time, because I can start naming the muscles, but might not be 100% sure where they're located, what do they do.
I'm just realizing how much I feel like I'm being tricked, right? Like, I wonder, we should do some core work, and you're like, wink, we're doing it all the time.
I'm like, I like when people do say that. That's true. Let's do some core work. I'm like, actually, we did it last time. You didn't even know.
We need to give you a break. But see, that's the trick, right? Like you said that your abdominals are 20% of the core system. So 80% of the core system you don't even necessarily know is being worked.
Yeah.
But then the incentive is like, I get it's not incentive. It's just easy to forget when you're working out on your own without somebody to point at a thing and say, do it. How do you add those muscles or those exercises beyond crunches to make sure that you're constantly, attending to the invisible 80%?
Yeah, you create the unstable environment. So everything that you do, like when I said we do those bridges and hamstring curls on the exercise ball. So you're creating that unstable surface. So now you have to include all those muscles, low muscle stabilizer muscles that you don't really necessarily feel it, like you would feel it when you do bicep curl and you feel the bicep. These are some of the deeper core muscles that you don't necessarily see it but they're very important. They're inside. They will kick in every time you do something like that. You might necessarily feel it right away. But the way you know you're getting stronger and doing all that stuff, once you start having less pain in your back and everything else, and you're able to execute the exercise without any pain.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more than just the abs. You know, you can have the abs, like I said, and still have a weak core. I've seen people with that. And I've seen them trying to do some exercises like, you know, in a push-up position and plank position, but then they're moving all over the place. I'm like, well, what's the purpose of actually being in that position if you're not going to include your core? I'm like, that's for the core. So you have to stop. I mean, the core is much more than just the, you know, the midsection. You have to like what they call pelvic floor muscles. There are like 3 different types of muscles, and they're responsible for pretty much supporting your organs. They hold up your bladder, intestines, and, you know, in women, the uterus. So, and they stabilize your spine and your hips. So they work together with, of course, your transverse abdominals, your diaphragm and multifidus and all those back spine muscles. But it's so much deeper than just, like I said, your abs. You know, they're controlling the pressure during the lift. So every time you brace, you breathe, or lift something heavy, your pelvic floor engages. All these muscles, deeper muscles, they do get engaged without even you realizing. Right? So that's why we do a lot of stuff on the floor that's not on the machine. You know, the only time when I utilize the machines, if I see that there's some muscle imbalances, because that can create the pains in your joint.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, okay, the muscle is a little bit weaker than the other one. You might feel a little bit in the joint. So I'm going to isolate it, put you on the machine, work on that specific muscles. But I love working the core. Like, probably one of my favorite exercises for the core is doing the Turkish get-ups.
What is that? Describe the Turkish get-up.
We're going to try to do that one. It's done usually with the kettlebells. You know, when you lay it all the way down, your hand is up and you go all the way back up.
Oh, no. With your hand and the kettlebell in the air.
Yes. And you got to keep it straight, and you're using your whole core, like just get down on the floor, get up.
Yeah.
It's a great exercise. I mean, it engages every single muscle of the core.
Yeah, it's exhausting
there's some
thinking about
just thinking about it. I was actually talking to somebody, explaining what it is this morning to one of my clients, and she was like, looking at me, she was like, no.
It seems awful.
I'm like, okay, how about we just do half of it? One half. She was like, maybe.
I'd like to do the half that's just getting down. Can we do that?
Look at just getting down to your knees, maybe get down on your butt, and then get up. We won't get all the way down to the floor. But there's
and then you switch hands too. You do different.
And
both
you
arms?
switch the hands, of course, because you got to do the other side a little bit and all that stuff. But it is so good.
Okay.
I mean,
all right. I want to go back to the breathing question, because you introduced breathing during the thing, or exhale during the hardest part of the move, right?
Yeah.
And bracing meaning, you know, fix yourself like you're about to get punched.
Yes.
Expanding, right? Are you breathing and bracing at the same time? Like when you're doing core work? How does that, I mean,
Well, yes. Well, sometimes when you in that position, or like in the plank position, and I say like keep it tight, and you can keep it tight and breathe at the same time. Yeah, it's just you're not just breathing and you're relaxed, right? Yeah. When you breathe and you just relax, and you can breathe, but keep you're bracing upright, and you're embracing, and it can exhale,
continuing to expand your
exactly.
chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Somebody is struggling with back pain. They come into you, and they are the quintessential the person that you described earlier, the person who has back pain, and you say their back is, you know, your back is probably fine. Mm-hmm. How do you talk about the role of core without over-promising their experience, right? Because there are people who might be listening to this saying, I think I may have legitimate back problems.
Well, there are some people that do have a back problems, and then you work on the back itself, on the muscle, on the back muscles, like those multifidus and the stuff like that I mentioned. There are a lot of smaller muscles around your spine that, keeps it in place and keep it stable. So you work on strengthening those muscles. You can also not just work on the core itself, but you work on strengthening your lower back. There are muscles behind it, just like everywhere else. It's just, and I tell people, like, when we do some like back extensions exercises to strengthen the lower back as well, it's not just the core itself, but those muscles, you can isolate them with the back extensions and some other exercises, because they might be a little bit weaker too, and they're part of those core muscles as well. So you can isolate them and work on them too, so you have a stronger back, right? So I'm actually working on a client right now who just came from her second back surgery. So we're working on a lot of these core exercises, and those core exercises where she was resisting the movement. Okay, so what resisting movement really means is where your spine is actually designed to have like small movements, controlled movement, protective movements. These are called the anti-movement training, right? So, for example, one of the exercises would be when we do farmer carries with one hand. So you're holding just the weight in one hand, and you're walking like straight line. So you're preventing from that lateral flexion, right? So it keeps you stable, and then it strengthens the obliques, improves that side stability. It's just huge for your posture and the whole lower back health. So you have those exercises that are called anti-lateral flexion, anti-extensions, anti-flexions. So you work on all of these movements, and we've been actually pretty successful. She's been feeling a lot better, and she's feeling a lot stronger. So, when you walk, your core resists from the rotation. When you carry something, your core resists that bending. When you lift, your core resists that arching. When you run, your core resists twisting. So that's why I said the core is not creating the movement, but resisting that movement. So this is why like strong athletes and, strong everyday movers have that incredible stability. So not just be able to move, but ability to be stable.
Let's talk about some. We could talk about myths that you
God.
wish as a trainer you could bust. But I also in this I want you to build in some practical, like, just here's an underrated core exercise or a couple of underrated core exercises that people should integrate into their gym time when they come in. Just make sure you're doing these things. So
there's all different variations of planks. I think everyone should do them. People just think they're boring, because a lot of core exercises are boring because you're not moving, right? So they're like, it's kind of boring. I don't want to do it. But there's a different variations of planks. So you should be doing them. And then, like I said, those Turkish get-ups, they're great. You should include those too. Then the ab roller, which you love so much.
I love it. I never expected that. I love the ab roller so much.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone loves that one. And usually when you see people, they need to do it like, I'll just do another day. I'm like, no, you do it now. You should be doing it after every day, after every workout. Just do one. Just because the core, you should be using all day. It's used all day, every day. So you should be working on it every single day. So that's why I make people do those. And those are great. So I would include those, because I know a lot of people are not doing those at all.
Yeah. Because they're not that much fun. Especially if you don't know how to do it. Like, it took me 6 months to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, and they hurt. Some of them really hurt. But yeah, there's a lot of myths. Oh my God.
Yeah, because I feel like so much of our understanding. Okay, I'm going to speak for myself. So much of my understanding of core, it comes from prison movies, where prisoners can't do that much stuff, so they like turn their bed on the side and they do like pull-ups on their bed frame, and they do sit-ups. They do a bazillion sit-ups, and so they're just totally ripped. And that was core throughout my formative years.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there are some myths buried in there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've heard people like doing a lot of crunches will give you like six-pack, or the core is just the abs, or you have to do the high rep ab circuits every day to get stronger core, or even when they say the planks are just enough. So planks are not just enough, not just themselves. You have to do other things too, or if your back hurts, just strengthen your abs. I'm like that's then that they say that like twisting exercises, that you do, like it burns and gets rid of those love handles, or the more you sweat, the better core training you get. And
okay,
what else was like the training core will fix posture immediately. I'm like, well, there's a lot more to that. And a strong core is only about the strength. Well, there are other roles like stability, timing, coordination, breathing, all that stuff. So so much of these things that you hear and you're like, I'm like, no. So that's why I'm like, if any time you see anyone telling you or trying to sell you anything, saying, oh, this exercise will strengthen your core, just do the ab or crunches, or this was what's going to get rid of the belly fat or all this, the exercise. It's not the exercise itself. And it's so much deeper than.
Well, and let's just say for the record, once again, and I know we've talked about this before, what is it that allows you to see your abs? What do you have to do to see your abs?
Well, it's training as well, of course, one thing. But then also you have to be consistent, and it's about nutrition and being in a, calorie deficit if you're going to lose some fat, and to be able to see it, because you can have the strong core and strong abs and they can still be covered all the fat, fat, and never see them. So just doing much on crutches doesn't mean they're just going to pop up out of nowhere. Okay. You got to
really
work
depressing.
Yeah. So they usually say that for women, like they have to be around like maybe 20% of body fat in order for them to see the abs. The guys, they have to be around between like 10-15% to start seeing abs. So
oh my God.
You got to get rid of, you can't just do a bunch of crunches and think that's going to fix your core and the abs are going to pop up and all that stuff. It's so much more than that. And it's a lot more work and consistent work. People give up way too easily, way too fast.
Yeah.
It's just like they get discouraged really fast when they don't see it. It's just like, it's a whole lifestyle. So be ready, be patient.
Okay. For me, it's just like in 15 years, in 20 years, when I sit down on the bed, will I be able to stand up off the bed? When I sit down on the toilet, will I be able to stand up off the toilet? As long as I can answer affirmatively to those questions by the exercises that I'm doing today, that's a proper investment. I don't need to see my abs. That'd be nice.
Yeah, because I mean,
I don't need.
Yeah, and that's where the core comes in. That's why I said that all the chronic back pains coming from that.
Falls as we age.
Exactly, because, and then the falls, when you're at that age, when you're older and you fall, like the chances of you fracturing the hip and breaking the hip, because a lot of like hip fractures, they don't happen when you fall. They happen before you fall because you have, weak bones and all that stuff and weak core. And it's just the importance of the core. I think it's not talked enough about, what it does. And like I said, you use your core by just walking, sitting, doing just the normal things that we take for granted. It's like,
you gave it to me. My walking away message is introduce instability. That is huge for me. That's a mantra I can live by. Yeah, I can do that.
All those exercises that we do with, being on unstable surface, or even with the cables where I have you hold it so you resist pulling you to the side, and all that's all core. It's like resisting the movement, not creating. So if the listeners can think about this, so the core is now about creating a movement, it's resisting the movement. Mm-hmm. And if they try to focus on that and think of that when they're working on the core, I think they should be fine.
Thanks, man. Great lessons. Great lessons. This was a very useful episode for me today. I hope it is useful for others as well. Glad you all can join us today. If you've got questions about training or recovery or how to stop chasing quick fixes and just learn how to do better planks, you should check in with us. We'd love to hear from you. Head to the show notes. Use that link in the show notes and send us your question for the coach. We'll answer it in an upcoming episode. And, don't forget to subscribe and share. If you're listening to this on the website or on socials, subscribe to the show and share it. This is how we all grow stronger together. Thanks for listening to Build for Health. We'll see you next week in the gym.